to the Edward Hands. I'm Lyle.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Alan.
And I need smaller friends.
Oh my, I was slouching for you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
That was nice.
We'll get you a phone book. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I need like maybe the phone books up for my shoulders too.
You want a booster seat?
Yeah, booster seat. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And well, this is a Edward Hands first, and that we're going to be filming and recording a podcast at the same time.
We will.
So hopefully this will be a successful first.
Yes.
If not, you'll never see this.
Right.
So,
Alright. So,
what
what are we here to talk about today?
we are here to talk about Conan, the Conan RPG,
Oh, yeah.
and the 2011 Conan movie.
Ah.
So just like our Mutant Chronicles episode, it's a double feature. And it's a book review of the Conan RPG, in that we didn't actually play it, we just read through the PDF. And it's, I guess, a real review of the movie, and that we did.
Yeah.
We experienced it.
I wish I just read a review and I could review
Yeah, I wish I
that.
just read the back here and then tell us. Yeah,
Look at the content.
give them some spoilers though on our review. We don't want to tip our hands. So we'll start with a review of the Conan RPG, and then after that we'll talk about the movie.
Yeah, so this is the Modiphius RPG, and so this is the same 2d20 system that they used for Mutant Chronicles. Mm-hmm. So if you watched or listened to our Mutant Chronicles review, you know the system, and so just some of the names are going to be different for some of these mechanics and the way the points are named, and just things that fit the setting a little bit more, things that have a more Conan theme.
Right. But what is the 2d20 system then? What would be an overview that we could provide people who didn't watch Mutant Chronicles?
Yeah, so the 2d20 means that for every skill check or any time you're challenged, you're rolling two 20-sided die. And so you're trying to roll under a target number, one being a critical success, and there's a difficulty rating on skill checks or actions that you're performing, and so you'll need multiple successes. And if you need more than two, if it's a very high difficulty, it'll have a skill rating of 3 or 4. So that means you need more successes than two 20-sided die will provide. So that's where some of their additional points, like momentum and fortune, come into play, because that gives you additional die to roll, so that you actually are able to complete very difficult tasks by rolling a handful of multiple successes on 20-sided die.
Right. So it's a lot like a D20 system,
Yes.
in a sense, but it's just kind of the reverse, and that you're rolling under.
It reminded me of the 100 percentile Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
You're always trying to roll under your stats.
Yeah, sure, like a percentage, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, they do damage a little bit differently than what people might be used to. I mean, if you're coming from a Dungeons and Dragons, you would roll like a D6, and whatever number comes up, that's the number of damage. Here you roll the number of dice that it says. So if it's, let's say, damage 4, it means you're rolling 4 D6s. They have special dice for their games, but you can also use regular dice in that 1 and 2 indicates the amount of damage, 3, 4, 5 is nothing, and then 6 is like a special effect.
Right.
So, I mean, that also is different, both the 2d20 and this damage die that they have. In addition, they have, as Jeremy alluded to, things like a doom pool, which the game master uses in order to do things such as take initiative in an action. And then they have the fortune pool,
right,
which people start with 3, and then they can spend these points or these tokens in order to get an extra success or an auto success, or to heal some damage.
Or additional action, or take an additional
action.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and it's interesting, the doom pool mechanic for the GM is interesting because there are certain things that trigger it, but also to move the players along. Say there's too much of a discussion about what they're doing next, or you want to kind of press upon them that time is of the essence. You can start adding points to that doom pool for every time you feel that the players are delaying, just to kind of motivate them, because they know that the situation can get much worse the more doom the GM has to spend.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting aspect of this game, and I thought it was a really interesting storytelling mechanic of sorts, because you see this doom just kind of piling up in front of the the GM screen, like it's kind of visible to the player, so
Yeah.
you know that something is going to happen eventually, and it kind of motivates progression. And also, I think it's probably a better way of dealing with like a random encounter of sorts. Because like I know in D&D you just do random encounters, but this is like kind of like I have so much doom. I'm going to spend. You've accumulated a lot of it. I'm going to spend it, and like this is going to happen. I think that's kind of an interesting aspect of the game.
And with their skills, skills have both an expertise or a focus. So expertise increases your chance of succeeding, and focus increases your chance of an extra success. So it's again a little bit differently, perhaps than a game that has just a simple a skill check. It allows me to succeed or not succeed. Here they have two different things.
Right. Yeah, and I think the difficulty rating, that's what makes the 2d20 system interesting, is not, are you getting advantage rolling 2 dice and taking the higher roll? You need multiple, successful, lower rolls in this case, but you need multiple successful rolls, the harder or more kind of against the odds what you're facing.
It reminds me of like both the D20 system married with the World of Darkness system, which relies on you hitting numbers and getting a number of successes. And here it's like, it's kind of the same thing, getting a number of successes, less so than the World of Darkness, but yeah, it's kind of using D20s.
Okay, rather than D10s.
Yeah. So that's the system in a nutshell. Now, what about the book itself?
Yeah, it's there's some. Well, we've seen the digital version, but that's basically what went to the printers. So the book itself is well laid out. It's well illustrated. It's not classical illustrations. And it's not the classical things you've seen from the mass market. There's no Frazetta or there's but at least the beginning of it, like character creation and the beginning of it, they're giving you examples and they're giving you images to look at.
Yeah, it actually starts with the book starts with them explaining why they wanted to do a Conan game, or kind of their experience, the designer's experience with Conan. Then it gets into a biography of Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan, and then it gets into like character creation, the system, and then at the end like the setting, as well as like a sample of monsters or opponents that the characters can face. So.
Yeah, and I'd actually never read any of the Conan books. Before I did this, I read the comic book.
Yeah,
and I've seen the movies, of course. So, having a little bit about Robert E. Howard and having a few excerpts from the actual book was really interesting flavor. It really helped me a little bit, like getting to know the setting, because there's definitely a lot more to Conan than just what's in the movies and whatnot. So, I think it's good for me. But maybe someone who's actually really well versed in like the world of Conan and has read a lot of the books, might not be as interesting to them. I don't know.
Yeah, because if you buy the collection of stories for Robert E. Howard, they actually have that same biography at the beginning of each one, which is the same that you would find on Wikipedia. So to have several pages devoted to something that I've read like 3 or 4 times, I can certainly see a player who hasn't read any Conan finding that interesting, but then somebody like me was like that. Those are just pages to skip through.
Well, I guess at the same time, though, they're making a Conan book. Like, you kind of have to put that in the beginning. If you're making a collection, I don't know. They're getting the license from like the family and whatnot. It's like
sure, but if you get like the Marvel license, the DC license, you don't necessarily talk about Bob Kane or Stan Lee and provide their biography and. This is in the 60s, and Stan Lee and worked with these people, Ditko and that, to create this character.
Right.
I can see an argument for both. Yeah, and I think it really depends on the player, and you can easily argue, hey, better safe than sorry, include it, but considering that it followed also, hey, why this guy's personal experience with Conan, which I did not find interesting at all, you're like, okay, enough. All right. Well, we get it. You love Conan.
Right. I think part of that, and I think that has, in a lot of, especially Lovecraft or Robert E. Howard, there's a lot of products out there. There's a lot of gaming and things you can do in those worlds, and so people want to kind of prove their legitimacy. Like, we are the fans that are going back to the real source, and so I think that's what that part of that is like, our Conan product is going to be faithful to the original, and especially with a property like Conan that is kind of been pastiched and it's been watered down and different things have been done with it. To try to say we're the legitimate, we're going back to the source. It's their attempt to kind of a marketing attempt to put themselves over on their competition. It's just, I think it's one of those things.
Yeah. So then it gets into the character creation system, which is what I would say if somebody was familiar with the BattleTech RPG, or which was called MechWarrior previously, or familiar with Traveler when we talk about Life Path. So it is certainly different than creating a character in something like World of Darkness, or creating a character like in Dungeons and Dragons, in that you are following a series of steps where you're creating different stages of your life and then putting it together, which might be different than the more kind of plugging things together, like race, class, boom, background, boom. There we go. There's the package. Or, you're doing your vampire. This is the kind of vampire I am. This is my, the group I'm with. Boom, put those together. There's my package. Here, you're like, let's start from birth. And
it tells you your region and stuff like that, where you're from. Yeah. I like that. I really did like that. And especially like, you could choose. You could obviously pick and choose what you want of each. But, I thought it would be really a lot of fun to just go in there and just roll randomly in all those charts and just see where you end up, what kind of character you get.
And just really, like Mutant Chronicles is the same. You can actually, it's designed that you could do it either way. You could do it your way, where you do it random and just like, hey, what do I end up with in the end? Or if somebody's got a clear idea what they want to be, they can then go through and sort of pick at each stage what they want or spend points on that.
Yeah, and also just going through that, it really got me a lot more familiar with the setting, just because you could end up being someone from a certain region, and then it kind of tells you a little bit about that region and how those people live, and then you're looking at all the other regions and other types of people and other tribes, and you're learning a lot more about the world just by going through this character creation process.
Yeah, and just like the Mutant Chronicles, it is very involved. It's a long process, and you go through 10 major steps, and at the end you still may want to do some fine tuning to get exactly the proficiency with with ranged weapons or whatever you were really focusing on. And I think that's partly due to having the skill expertise and skill focus, and certain parts of your history are going to give you those benefits. And so if you want to weigh things heavily towards something, you're going to have to kind of do some of that fine tuning. Yeah,
I mean, well, there's several steps, and going through these steps kind of gives you an idea how to create a character, but also gives you an idea of the different information that you would find on a character sheet. So you start off with you pick your homeland and your talent. Now, similar to the Star Wars RPG, and I think it's because it shares the creator, is that you have talents which give you sort of like a skill tree. So if you have this talent, then you can have access to these skills. So that's what the talents are. So you pick your homeland, which gives you like a talent and a language. Then you get your attributes, which... it's different in that you choose like your mandatory attributes and which is your best one, which is your worst one. I actually found that confusing because your worst one is actually better than other ones.
Yes.
So you choose your mandatory ones. One's your best, and of course it's clearly your best one. Then you choose your worst, and it's better than some other attributes. It's not actually your worst one. It just happens to be the worst one of this thing.
It's like your least best.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, your least best is the one. And I had to read that several times. And then you also choose other bonuses that you can provide. Then you get into like your attribute aspects. You get into your cast, which gives you more talents and a skill. And an example of a cast would be like farmer or warrior. Then you get into your story, which is, I think, a good thing is that it really encourages you to think of a background, like Alan alluded to before, there's things in this game that really focus on role playing and narrative, and this is one of them. And this gives you like, a trait, an event. Then your archetype, which gives you more skills and a talent. And these are things like barbarian, scholar, archer. Then you get into your nature, which can improve attributes and gives you another skill, or adds to your skills and your talents. Then you get your education, which helps with your skills again. Then you get into your war story, which adds to the focus and expertise, which we talked to, so it's connected to skills. Then you get into your finishing touches, which adds to your skills. And then you get your final calculations, which is things like your resolve and gold and that. So it
gets a little convoluted, doesn't it?
Well, it gets a little samey as you go through and make your thing, because it's not like this is giving me... This step gives me my skills. This step gives me my talents, or I suppose it should be the other way around. This step gives me my attributes, and this step gives me traits that will, trigger this. They just keep adding to skills, and that they keep adding to the same type of thing, and it can make sense, because if you're an archer, you're going to learn different things because you got off the farm and you learned this. And then that's your cast, and then part of your archetype is you're an archer, and that gave me new skills that I learned, and I can certainly understand as you progress through your life. And the Mutant Chronicles has something similar. I mean, you go through like this school, military school, and then you get into an advanced military school, and it didn't bother me as much in the Mutant Chronicles.
It will add a lot to a variety, though. Like, you'll have with all your skills, you'll have a very different character. Like, especially when we're playing D&D, like if you choose like a certain race and class, you're going to have the same characters no matter your background. And then this, like, you might have a similar type of character, but you're bound to have different, abilities because of different branches that you've taken.
Absolutely, I can definitely see the argument where it allows you to customize your character. Definitely, 100% see that argument. But I also know that I think it's a different time. I think this is definitely a throwback in character creation, in that they seem to think that players want to invest a lot of time in creating the character. And I think maybe players like to, in their mind, think about their character backstory and what the character is. But I think when it comes down to writing stuff on a page and writing down numbers, I think people want to go much more quickly than this is doing. I think... I think there's a certain fatigue that would set in if you did this. I mean, War Story, which is step 8 or 9, is interesting because it's like shipwrecked, or you defeated this big beast or something, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I rolled that randomly. Now, how do I work in shipwrecked into my backstory? That would be pretty interesting. But at step 8, they might be a little bit tired. And what it actually gives you is just adding focus and expertise, which is just, again, adding to skills.
Right.
Yeah, so I like the idea, but perhaps not the execution. Yeah, well, but that's what it is. I mean, and that is something that's part of this system. So I think people familiar with Conan, and they can go into Mutant Chronicles, and then they're going to go, I'm really down with these life paths.
Yeah, I think definitely both of these IPs they're aiming at people that are really interested in this setting and maybe had some experience with, the books or the game, other games or something that they want to really flesh things out. But I think you do have a good point. Like, just looking through the D&D 5e character creation, the player's handbook, there is, it's the character creation isn't as complicated, and then they also have if you want to make a quick version, just do this, this, and this. They move ahead quickly. They get people creating characters, right out of the gate. And also with this system, and I think that's true of most of the Modiphius systems, there isn't a starter set, there isn't pre-gen characters. So the character creation is, part of the incentive, to want to play that first session of creating characters might be one of the, big joys of using the system.
Yeah, but then again, something like D&D 5e is definitely like catering to like a different crowd. Like, you know, that you're going to see that in a Barnes and Noble. You're going to walk in there and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I heard about this game. I'm going to go buy this. And then, you know, those people may never have played an RPG before. That's like their gateway. Someone who comes across this like Conan game, you know, probably this isn't they're going to be their first RPG.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's necessary that they need to have like that, you know, quick fix.
Right,
You know,
yeah, that's a-
I don't know, because I don't think necessarily the longer you play RPGs, the more you want to spend on character creation. I don't.
well, it depends on what kind of RPG you want to play, right?
But I mean, if we even look at like Dungeons and Dragons, I would say it's a more complicated character creation than Dungeons and Dragons. And we have a recent experience of somebody coming from Powered by the Apocalypse, which is a much quicker character creation system than even Dungeons and Dragons, reacting quite negatively to the amount of time and pages that he needed to read in order to create his character. And then I'm thinking like playing games like Rifts or looking at
like
the
GURPS,
Conan ones,
right?
or even GURPS, and you're like, well, if you think Dungeons and Dragons is taxing, you should see some other games that are out there. And I think, yeah, and I don't think a love of Conan necessarily means that, again, you want to spend a long time making a Conan character. So I don't necessarily see either one of those helping you. I think it's somebody who likes spending a long time making characters is going to love this. Somebody who likes Life Path is going to love this. But somebody who wants to just quickly, I want to be barbarian. How do I just be? How do I be Conan? You know, like
that's the GM.
Funny you should ask. You know.
But I don't know. I see people who are coming from like Shadowrun, people who are coming from like Monster Chronicles, or people who are coming from these other games. And I see this as being a pretty on par, you know, in a sense. Especially, it's a lot easier to create a character in this than it is like in Shadowrun, which is a very popular RPG.
Yeah, and some people do complain about the rules. I think people coming in here should come in with just kind of my reaction is it is both. There's both good and bad to it, and one of them is the character creation did seem a bit tedious.
Maybe if they had a few pre-gens or something that someone who doesn't want to create a character, they could just, I want to be this character. They just can pick it if that scenario comes up. But you know, I don't think you can cater to both. I think like you gotta either have like your heavy rule set or you don't. Like I know like D&D made it pretty streamlined, especially with like 4E Essentials. Like that was incredibly streamlined. I love that. Like, you know, if you want to introduce someone to D&D, like go to like 4E Essentials and be like, here we go, just pick a character you want to play. Okay, there you go. Like there isn't really any work to it besides that. You know, but someone who wants a little bit more crunch, they're going to want to get in there and they're going to want to spend time with their character. Yeah. It really depends on what kind of RPG you want to play, and or in their case, what kind of RPG they wanted to make. So, it can be a little tedious, but I didn't think the character creation was all that bad. I thought it was a pretty. I thought it was well made. It was definitely step by step, and if you just went in there, you could just roll a few random numbers, and it would just make itself pretty much. You just write it down. You know, no real decisions, honestly.
Yeah, you can randomly generate all of those steps, but if you wanted to, I want to play a warrior, I want to play, you know, a heavy, you know, strong damage dealer, then you're not gonna be guaranteed to get that. You're gonna maybe get a wrathful battle farmer. Or
But yeah, I think it was definitely. I think in it, as complex as it was, I think they laid it out pretty nicely.
Well, I think like the attributes were confusing in how they presented it, and even they had an example. I mean, they do provide an example character, so they walk you through that. But yeah, I guess if I felt that the steps were significantly different, then I might see more value in them. Like, but I kind of thought we were kind of treading the same. Okay, we got archetype and. You got your nature now and your education, and just like they kind of seem to be doing the same thing. So
okay,
yeah. So certainly character creation. I mean, you see different opinions on it, but go in knowing that it's a bit more involved than maybe definitely more involved than Powered by Apocalypse games, or more involved than Dungeons and Dragons. I would put it as less involved than a GURPS.
Yeah.
And
I think less involved than Shadowrun.
Yeah, or less bookkeeping than Palladium. Yeah. But now with the apps, people are so dependent on apps, and they just want to plug things in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw that in D&D, where people
I've heard that.
just like threw away the book and just like, oh, I just want to put my number. Look, 5 minutes, and I'm done, and it did all the math for me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think we've become a society that hates math.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and the smartphone. So that is character creation, which is different, and then it gets into the setting and or it gets into the system, which we covered, but then it moves on to the setting, and what they'll do is then there'll be like a picture and then quite a bit of text explaining this world, but it's all fluff, not any crunch. They don't provide any stats for these things. They just kind of explain the different areas of the world.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, but like, that second half of the book wasn't really for me, because I see myself primarily as a player in this. I would never GM it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about Conan.
Yeah.
I could play, I know a bit, but I could play in this world. I could make my character, I could make my background, I could know about that.
Mm-hmm.
But then anything else after that, I don't really need to know. I think that's up to the GM to know. And then they're going to be telling that story. I mean, I guess I might need to know a little bit about like where we are, I guess, because I could have like my character's knowledge of the location.
Yeah, I think it's valuable in that sense of like you're from this part of the world. Okay, what is that part of the world?
Yeah.
Like maybe read that section of the book. Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, I think like I would really like be dependent on the RPG, on the GM's knowledge of the RPG and of the GM's knowledge of the setting.
Yeah, and Mutant Chronicles was very really cautioned you on the parts of the book that you as a player should read because there were certain spoilers that were definitely for game masters' eyes only. So, here less so because it was just kind of walking you through a background, not walking you through a narrative, which is like the Mutant Chronicles.
Right. Yeah. And I think there were certain things, especially with that Mutant Chronicles setting, the surprises and situations that didn't want to spoil for the players. And with Conan, I think it's been fleshed out in the stories. And if you have any familiarity with the Conan stories, there's not going to be huge surprises in where the magic users are, where the barbarians are. Where you're going to be is going to affect what you're going to encounter. Yeah.
If I had a criticism of this part of the book, it would be that it was so text heavy. And the art was good for the most part. There was something where it looked like, I would say like 14th century armor.
Oh, right.
A little out of place.
Yeah, it was the Gothic style armor, like very much the full plate, and it really seemed out of place for a Conan thing, even though it was one of the more advanced nations. But for the most part, I thought the art was really good, but it seemed so sparse, especially in the setting. It was like, I mean, what did these people look like? Show me. I mean, one picture of the marketplace in one of these places would have done so much more than all of that text.
Yeah.
So you're often reading it going, okay, well, what do the people there look like, and how do they dress, and I think there should have been at least a real, scene setting picture, then a little briefer description, and then another picture. And I know art is pretty expensive and adds a lot to the cost of these books, but I think that would have been, money well spent.
Yeah, and we'll have to see because they always do support their core books with their source book. So maybe they were kind of pulling some things back to, for those books to be lushly illustrated. We won't know until it's released.
Yeah, we do have the adventure book.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and I wouldn't describe that as lushly illustrated.
Yeah.
Again, well laid out, and the illustrations are good, but it does leave you wanting more. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe you said the campaign was pretty successful for the most part, right? So.
Yeah. They just haven't finished publishing the books yet, but I think there's people definitely waiting for it. Yeah, it was a good success. I'm not sure. I can't compare it to the Mutant Chronicles because we kind of were after the fact. We kind of bought into Mutant Chronicles after the fact, but it was successful. And I think they unlocked everything during the campaigns, and it was just there's 2 whole waves of source books and materials, and then they went leather limited edition core, and then also specialized Doom tokens and things that were
the dice as well, right?
Yeah, right, and custom dice.
There's been certainly a Conan boom recently, hasn't there?
Well, yeah, there's the miniatures game.
Yes.
Or the mini board game is the...
The board game that contains miniatures.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
There's, and the RPG.
And this movie, oh my god.
Well, that's 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the adventure, I mean, the adventure was really good in that it's very faithful, or it was actually a series of adventures in this book. They're very faithful to the book, so or the stories. You actually feel like you're really playing a Conan story, which is fantastic. What I found when I was reading through these adventures, though, is it was difficult to judge the scale. Whereas in a game like Dungeons and Dragons, it's levels 1 to 3. So you know what kind of characters are supposed to go in. And here I was like, what? I guess these are for beginning level characters. But it doesn't give you any information, so you just, hope for the best, I guess. Come on in.
Yeah.
And let's see if you guys survive this.
Yeah.
It also, because they did really feel like Conan stories, they didn't feel like adventures for a big group of people, like a party. They feel like adventures for two characters or one or two. But that could just be that you're so into that Conan mindset, and then when it's being so faithful that you're like, I remember Conan walking through something like this. So then you're like, I can't imagine an archer walking next to him.
Huh. So that brings up something, you're not actually Conan. Does Conan exist in this world?
Yeah, of course.
I guess. Or is he off doing something else while you're doing his adventure, or what?
Well, I'm sure there's enough adventuring that...
this was his adventure. We're just doing it instead of him.
Yeah. They franchised out the adventuring.
Yeah.
They're doing that, yeah.
Conan's busy today. Can you take over this adventure for him?
I'm Conan 2. I will be your adventurer.
I think that's the danger in all, when you play Star Wars and people are but I want to blow up the Death Star. Yeah. I mean, when you're in the Rebellion, you watch the movies, it's the rest of the Rebellion doesn't do very much.
So I'm going to hit Lando out of the way. I'm going to shoot it.
Yeah.
It's me. I did it.
And you get the Millennium Falcon. Yeah. So, it does that. Anytime you play a game like this that has such an established fictional world, you do run that risk.
Yeah.
But I think it was very faithful, and for better or for worse. Yeah.
Would you play it?
No.
Wow.
Not even as Jeremy, you're in this.
GM,
He's going to GM. You don't want to get in on his game?
Are you in on this?
I would play it to just because to play with you guys, but would I buy the game? No. And I'm a big fan of the Mutant Chronicles, and I'm also a fan of the company. I have Mutant Year Zero, and I kickstarted Mechatron.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're pledged. But when I was reading this, I was just like, I just didn't want to play in it. And I have, I think, all of the Conan stories, the short stories. And I'm reading this going, this should be for me, but it's not. And I think one of the things for me was, I think when I play fantasy, and maybe a lot of people, I can see people wanting to play Dungeons and Dragons more. And maybe I want to play a game like D&D more than playing Conan, because you have more options. This here, the sword and sorcery, the low fantasy. I kind of feel like people are just going to play slight variations of of each other. So, whereas magic is very difficult to use, you're certainly a lot less powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting point. And I think with these kind of licensed games, that's just like you're talking with Star Wars, that's the problem. And when you're breaking up the universe into, different parts of the Outer Rim or the Empire or the Rebellion, you're running that risk of, I want to be Luke, and what's going on? How many young farm boys are we're going to have on this adventure?
Yeah. Well, what about you? Would you buy the book?
I wouldn't. but I'd give it a go. I'd play it, especially if
Okay.
like someone's like running it. As I said, like I don't know anything about Conan really.
Yeah.
I know the movies. I'm interested in reading the books. You know, of course, I grew up with just Conan being part of it. You know, the movies were very popular when I was younger. They had an animation as well.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
Uh,
They also had a TV show.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Yeah.
There was.
So, like, yeah, I don't really see myself buying this just because I'd probably buy another book before that. You know, I'd probably buy like 5e Player's Manual or something.
Well, yeah, I think that's where I'm coming from too. Is
Um,
it wouldn't be my first or even my third
But I think
fantasy
it-
book. Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to play. It seems like a really interesting mechanic. I like the story element of building the character. I'd like to see how that doom pool can be implemented.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of, the setting's interesting in the fact that it's low magic. You know, and I really haven't played a game like that before. And it'd
Sure,
be nice to
yeah.
be able to play a game like that in a setting that I'm familiar with
Yeah.
and that I don't dislike. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Ice Fire or that. But the story
I
of
actually
Ice
really like
Fire.
that. Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of maybe I'd be more partial to this than you know. So
Yeah, I think this appeals to me in the same way like the Warhammer Fantasy role-playing does, kind of a guaranteed grim, blood and guts, miserable time. You know, it's gonna be a little darker, and you know, with the low fantasy, not relying on magic, there is going to be a lot more ugly combat, and things can be more savage, and you can kind of like the whole tone of the game is going to be focused that way. So I think going into it, you're going to know that's where you are. It's going to be a Conan world. You're going to have monster claws raked across your back. You're going to you're going to be biting your way out of a lot of situations.
Yeah, I guess
like we did in our D&D campaign.
for me. So would you buy it again? Like you did buy it,
Right.
Would you buy it again?
Yeah, after looking at the mechanics, a little bit of it, I don't want to, I do like Modiphius, and I like they're working a lot to translate a lot of European RPGs, and I really appreciate what they're doing. But this is a bit of a reskin of so the things that I liked about Mutant Chronicles. This does feel like okay, we're putting Conan over this. There's not a lot of original mechanics that really make me feel like they got the essence of that.
Yeah.
A lot of things are renamed, and there could have been savagery points or something that instead of saying there's a complication or there's going to be something working in your favor, there's going to be extra gore or extra savagery that is happening that would have fit the setting, and it kind of suited the flavor a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean there's two things against this or against me buying it. One of them is I can actually scratch the system itch, like what I liked about the system I can get from Mutant Chronicles. And if I wanted to play a fantasy game, there's already other fantasy games out there that I can play that I can either play as a low fantasy or high fantasy because they give me those options, which this doesn't. So I think those are two knocks against it, and it is a reskinning of, or it's using the same rules as the Mutant Chronicles, but I also found it didn't present them as clearly as the Mutant Chronicles. I wouldn't have guessed how the damage system works reading this. I only knew because I looked at it and I think they're trying to say the same thing as the Mutant Chronicles books is. So that's how the damage works in Mutant Chronicles. That's what they're trying to say here. But I for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what. I wouldn't have been able to figure out what it was if this is the only 2d20 book I had. So I felt it wasn't presented as well. And the thing is the life pass. I found the life pass in Mutant Chronicles, a little bit long, but I found the stages different enough that it didn't feel tedious. But then when I got here, I just okay, I'm a farmer, now I'm a barbarian, and it's kind of giving me the same things. All right. I just felt like a chore, so yeah.
Well, I think it could be fun, but I think it's definitely not for your casual RPGer, I guess. I mean, if you really like Conan.
If you, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, it sounds like we have 3 non-recommendations for the game, but it's certainly made by somebody who loves Conan. So I mean, you can feel the love.
Yes.
Can you feel the love? Yes, you can. But is that going to mean that you're going to love it? Maybe not so much.
But if you do own the miniatures game, you're going to be compelled to have an RPG to play with all those miniatures.
Yep. And that's why I'm excited for your game. You're gonna have them painted by that time.
By
right?
that time, yeah.
Yeah, but we want you to do the Mutant Chronicles game first.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, as soon as we have those.
Who's next on rotation?
All right. And next is the movie.
Let me get ready.
And I mean, this came about because with Mutant Chronicles, we were really excited about the Mutant Chronicles, the game, so we thought, hey, let's watch the movie. And was the Mutant Chronicles movie good? No, not so much, but it wasn't a waste of 2 hours.
No, yeah, and there was enough in it.
Yeah.
You know, we could see what they were trying to do.
Yeah. So we.
Yeah, sometimes bad movies are fun, right?
Yeah. And sometimes they're not. Wow. So we watched this. This was my second time watching it.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But I didn't remember anything except for the beginning.
I'm having a hard time right now.
Yeah.
But I did not watch it with you guys. I watched it on my own to kind of do my homework, and I had a whole lot to say about this last time we recorded.
Yeah.
And I ranted about this, and I don't know if I could be as passionate this time around, but I have to say, like, it had potential to be like a bad good, but it did not.
Mm-hmm.
It did not take that extra step. Like, if it was just a little bit more ridiculous, I think I could have enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just not ridiculous enough, and it just took itself a little too seriously. And I guess, you want to take yourself seriously when you're making a movie, but something like this has been in production hell for like over a decade, man. Like, seriously, this was, I was reading up about this movie's production and how it was originally going to have Schwarzenegger in it.
Right.
And I think like Rodriguez, his company, eventually got the rights, and then I forget what company, like Miramax, was going to produce it, or whoever produced the original one, and then it switched companies, and he lost the license. He was also going to do what Rose McGowan was going to be Red Sonja as well.
Okay.
Like, he was going to produce like Conan and Red Sonja, and which is probably why she's in it, because she was attached to it to begin with.
Right.
And and then they changed different writers, and they went to someone else, and and then now it became this. And
And it has like Jason. Hot Mess still makes it sound better than it actually was, because it seems like
it was a tepid pile.
It was. I think, like you said, like everybody took it very seriously. It just sucked all the joy, and actually a little behind the scenes, we were going to do a commentary track on it, and we just the joy just got sucked out of the room, that we just didn't want to talk anymore, and we just kind of stared listlessly at the microphone as the movie just played on and on and on. I don't know. I could say it's
nothing to say. Yeah.
Maybe the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, I almost laughed twice. The second time was just a chuckle, but I genuinely laughed when what's that guy's name? The Reese. Or I forget, one of the guys with the fake teeth that was really annoying to listen to. He had this like little prosthetic in his mouth that was incredibly obvious that he had this prosthetic. And they put him in this catapult, and they just launch him across the battlefield, and he's just like, "Wah!" And he lands inside the hut of the bad guy, the John Voight guy. Is that his name?
John Voight?
No, it's Stephen Lang.
Stephen Lang. It just lands, and then him and Rose McGowan are like, well, Reese arrived, and I'm like, oh, that was funny.
All right, well, so we'll go through the movie.
Anyway.
So there will be spoilers. I mean, but not
Not
as much as the movie would spoil your day.
Right.
So it starts off with just like the Schwarzenegger Conan movie with a young Conan. Actually, it starts with
the
Conan in the womb.
Yeah, in utero.
Actually, literally born on the battlefield.
Yeah, and which was pretty laughable. But it follows the kind of like the trope where, because somebody's going to have a dramatic moment on the battlefield, then everybody stops. Everybody gives him a little space. Hey,
Right.
she's giving birth. She's
We're
giving
just
birth. Just
cut her over.
give her some space.
And nobody like cleaves when you hold an infant up on a battlefield. I think you would be kind of motivated to just cleave it in half, but
Yeah.
they just they were just.
I guess they didn't write that in the battle manual. It's like when you see them holding the baby. Good time.
That's
So yeah, Conan was born,
Mm.
and then we see young Conan, a boy Conan.
Which I guess his mother died there.
Oh yeah,
Which was a
they
big
cut her
deal
out. Yeah,
because,
but it was like name your son, and she named him Conan.
Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think
So,
was,
yeah. She named him something else, but he's like, no. And then when she died, he's like, oh, actually, we'll call him Conan. That was a rubbish name. What was that?
Star Child.
Yeah, Star Child. Flower. Oh, a flower.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal because like every other version of Conan that I've seen or read,
Yeah.
like his mother is alive until she dies.
So you mean it's like every other version? You saw one other version?
Well, I saw the movie and I read the comic.
So he
yeah.
knows his mother. You're saying like young
Yeah.
Conan knows
Yeah.
his mother, right? Yeah, and
Well, he doesn't know his mother here.
right.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. That's a new thing.
Yeah. But then it goes to young Conan. Ron Perlman plays the father.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a blacksmith.
Right.
Yeah. Which follows,
Yeah.
like the Conan the Barbarian would, because of the riddle of steel, and they talk about steel, and
Mhm.
steel's important. And then we see some picks, which was nice. Picks.
Yeah, the big
They look a lot like Iroquois.
Right,
A
right,
little bit.
yeah, they were.
Oh, yeah.
They made a little bit more monstrous. Like
Yeah.
they didn't speak; they just kind of,
Yeah.
growled and.
Oh
hissed
yeah,
and,
no, I know. Because like in Conan, man, like they're like they did this thing right in the beginning, which I don't really like about movies. They're like, okay, how do we make this kid look badass? Well, we'll just show him running around being badass. Like that's the only thing that's going to make him interesting is that he's going to be just so badass at everything. So he's able to run this little competition with these other kids, and he's got like an egg in his mouth,
Mhm.
and he's go out there and run, and he's what are they looking for, like a bread or something? I forget. He throws something out there, and they have to go find it, and they have to come back with the egg still intact.
Mhm.
And he comes across these picks, and he decides to kill them. He chops off 3 of their heads, and he comes back, and he throws their heads on the ground, and spits out the egg. Oh, he's so badass! And everyone's like, whoa! No one's like disturbed that this kid's just like killed. Chopped off 3 heads.
Yeah, it's a
and,
warrior culture. Right?
Well, no, it's
Why
not
would they
like
be
that.
disturbed? It's like,
oh,
that's
good job.
sure.
Nice heads,
Did
boy.
they do something wrong? I mean,
I think
son,
like
there's justifiable homicide. There's self-defense. Was it self-defense? I mean, do we have stand your ground?
but
No.
I don't know. I just kind of saw it as like
I
that kid's got a problem.
I don't mind it, but I see your point. But when they have like this ultimate badass that can kill like 20 warriors, and like how does anybody defeat this village when he's like the kid of these badasses,
right.
and then they're just going to be conquering the world. So it's I don't know if you ever read the Dune books, the prequels.
No.
Like they're so badass, the Atreides. then the original Dune book you're reading, it's like, how did these guys get smoked so by the Harkonnen?
Right.
Well, I mean, I know this
Anyway,
is
back
really,
to Conan.
yeah.
And then, so he beats these picks, but then Stephen Lang's character comes, very much like James Earl Jones in the original. Yeah, so he meets what is going to be the villain of the story, and he kills the father in a very cruel way.
And he's like Conan.
Conan kind of kill him. It's like Conan's got to
Right,
hold this chain that holds his molten steel. Maybe he could have waited till it cooled.
That was an
Yeah,
option.
that's an option. It's like, you're gonna be able to hold this for like 5 seconds only, or you're gonna kill your father. And the father is like, who's a blacksmith, is like, oh, just let me go. And he's like, but couldn't he go? Okay, it'll probably cool in about an hour.
Right.
For 30 minutes. Can you hold on for 30 minutes? Yeah, you're strong. But no, he's like, just kill
Well,
him.
he just proved that he was a badass and killed 3 pigs.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
so I
chopped
don't
their
know
heads
why-
off.
I don't
That's
know
like
why
really
he, like-
hard to do. Is like chop people.
Oh, I think they lit the thing
He
on
did it.
fire.
Yeah.
No, they lit the.
Oh, the vid-
yeah,
yeah.
okay, no,
Yeah,
I remember that now.
Yeah,
All right.
they're-
All right, so maybe that wasn't a huge
Okay.
flaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he does that. He kills his dad.
Mhm.
Yeah, so he's now unhappy, and then I mean, this part of the story is bad, and then it jumps to when he's an adult, and then you realize that you've already seen the best part of the movie.
Yeah,
which is
right,
very
right.
sad
It really is.
because you're making fun of this part of the movie, and at least you're kind of feeling something.
Yeah.
And then Jason Momoa
Momoa, yeah.
appears, and sucks the life out of a movie. I've never seen somebody with. You watch him as Khal Drogo, and I guess he's got some charisma, and you think, wow, this guy can kind of carry a movie. No.
Yeah. When I first saw the production stills of him as Conan, I'm like, okay, I can go for this, and it might have even
because he
been...
looks like Conan.
Without the fringe anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
no definitely. And he had kind of like a savagery to him, and when you see him on Game of Thrones, he's big. He's an imposing figure in that setting. But
Here he looks
people,
like a dude brawl.
they cast people around him that were larger than him, so Conan's a little bit. I'm just kind of average size, and he didn't. And he can't deliver any lines. I mean, he should have just been silent. And I think that's what the
that's probably Khal Drogo is like. They should have made him speak like another language, and it's like no one can understand Conan, but everybody. I don't understand a word he says, but I want to. He's so dreamy, but just something that doesn't bode well for Aquaman. Like he's just gonna
right.
Like Aquaman's not even an interesting character to begin with, and now he's gonna have to like deliver some lines.
Yeah, but then again, the lines that he was given were just expository. They weren't really any. I always like think of movies like this. It kind of reminds me of one of those King's Quest types game where you're walking and you go up to the bad guy and they have their pre-programmed line of dialogue and you got to get the exact line of dialogue back, and it just really seems very stiff like that. It's just there really is no in-character interaction.
Yeah, I mean he starts off saving some slaves. And then it was he frees them, and it was like, now we'll party.
Yes.
And it was like a joyless party. There's even like topless women, but it's so joyless.
They're like throwing topless women over their shoulder, just like, okay, let's go drink.
Yeah, let's go drink. No, I'll take you to No, I will take you to the bedroom. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it was like they didn't. It wasn't like it was all over the map with tone. It was like they didn't know what tone they wanted to strike, so they went with toneless. Because it wasn't like fun swashbuckly. It wasn't dark. It was. I mean, the imagery was dark, where you couldn't see anything for like this movie. So you just went with this like toneless movie with a charismaless lead. And Stephen Lang, he was in Avatar.
Right.
And he's actually in some proper movies. I think he was in a Civil War movie where he played Stonewall Jackson. I think he was good in that.
I guess.
But here it was.
This is annoying. It was more annoying than Avatar.
Well, it was like he wasn't. What do they say? Like chewing the scenery. Like he wasn't even doing that.
Right,
he was. It's like everybody gave up and was like, I'm just gonna deliver my lines.
We're just getting this paycheck.
Yeah, just go back to my trailer.
I'm just nasty guy.
And Rose McGowan was playing a creepy character that wasn't creepy enough. It was his daughter, but they had a weird relationship.
These little goth finger things that she used to point at everybody.
Yeah, and it's like
she lost one once. I don't know how that happened. She's like, oh, she was here. Here's one of her finger thingies.
Yeah, and then there was Conan meets. He's got a sidekick who's a something.
He was like a pirate, wasn't he?
Yeah, pirate. He's bigger than him, and then he meets a thief. He rescues a thief.
Oh, right.
So he's got a life debt, and then that comes up later in the movie where they go, let's go rescue the thief so he can unlock something. So they go to the thing, and it's like, City of Thieves. And you're like, how can you have a City of Thieves? Like, everybody's going to be... And they have a marketplace. Why is there a marketplace in a City of Thieves? Why would you have that?
Empty stalls.
Yeah, it would just be...
This guy steals something, and the other guy steals something and put it back there.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'll trade you this. And it's like, well, why trade? I'm just going to steal it from you. And isn't that mine anyway? So they have a City of Thieves. He picks up this thief who comes for like 5 or 10, 20, I don't know, a bit, and then it's like, see you later. Whereas a normal movie it would be like, now you're going to join me and you'll be to the end. But here it's like, now you'll join me and no, you did your toe. It was like it was a key or something. They could have replaced that thief with a key.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go to the City of Thieves and get a key. All right, done.
Done.
Yeah, and even
I don't even know what he was. I can't even remember what he was supposed to get.
I don't either. But
because it was like they get there, so there's a long production of going. Okay, we have this thief that we established early in the movie, so we go to the City of Thieves to get him, and then we go to this place that we need to unlock, and we have a monster set piece, and then it's like, oh, they're not there after all. They're somewhere else. They've already left, and it was like, wow. It was like pointless.
Well, just like the magic item, the mask that they set up that was broken apart, and that was why they raided the village to find the last piece of the mask. And then they assembled the mask, and it turns into a helmet and okay, he's not immortal. He doesn't become like superpower. It's just like okay, now he's got a new
And of course,
accessory.
everyone's like, yeah!
Yeah, and it just doesn't. It's really
Mask!
yeah. That should be like okay, now he's unbeatable. But it was like he's got a different look now. Yeah.
Well, there's that little seance at the end where he's going to bring his wife back.
Right,
Yes,
Which
yeah.
is the whole chosen one.
Yeah,
thing.
that's what.
So he meets the chosen one.
Oh,
lady.
okay, yeah. There was a woman in this,
Yeah, there's a woman.
and she is going to be a vessel for Stephen Lang, the villain's dead wife's spirit. So, and there, I think there was some attempt to give, like, I'll say, like sympathetic motivation to the villain in that where you're like, oh, I'm torn because he kind of loves his wife.
Right, yeah.
But it was kind of like mentioned at the beginning, and it just becomes this device because now I need to get this mask assembled and then get this chosen one lady who maybe had less charisma than Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
You know, I wrote this down last time, but I realized that when he was going to go off, when she went off and he went after her, and she asked him, is like, what do you value in life? And he's like, oh, defeating my enemies, eating rocks, and being badass. And she's like, and then like I forget exactly what he said, but there's something along that lines. And she's just like, and then that's how you get a woman to have hot, stable hay barrel sex with you, because it's like then you just cut to like this little shack under the bridge with the light shining through the roof, and they're just intimate. Because that turns on every fucking woman, man. That's how you get into her pants. Just be a freaking creep.
Well, she was like, I wasn't even listening.
Yeah, right.
She was probably like,
I just saw your pecs
Probably
bouncing
like-
back and up and down.
Probably like everybody else was like, what did you just say nothing?
You're right.
Yeah.
Are you still talking? Yeah, and to put like a spunky female role against Conan is ridiculous. You need a woman warrior. You need Red Sonja to play off of
Wasn't
Conan.
it?
She
Oh, wait, no.
is,
Not his cousin. Although,
But
see how I
yeah,
can
so
get confused there.
yeah, the woman was part of a monastery,
Right.
where they have male and female acolytes.
and so they're kind of implying her virginity, which
Yeah.
is totally gone.
Yep.
Yeah, got rid of that.
But yet they're still using her to be the vessel.
Right.
Yeah,
The wicked
Virginie.
mother.
Well, I guess it's not important. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think and that brings the whole that character of Conan down. Like they spent any time setting him up, and then he's just like some funky little banter with this spunky little girl, and she's like he's just nothing after those kind of scenes. She's like, really? This is they had a little meet cute, and they're gonna fall for each other, and it's just silliness. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what this movie kind of reminded me of? You ever see the Prince of Persia movie?
No.
If not,
It's almost exactly like that.
wow.
Is it really terrible?
Yes.
Because Jake Gyllenhaal can act.
Yeah, but he's not like
Oh, but he learned to act after Prince of
a
Persia.
badass.
Maybe the version is like,
Imagine Jake
better go back.
Gyllenhaal trying to play Conan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like he was in good shape. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's I don't know. Possibly the witty banter between the characters is less annoying, more plausible, but yeah, it was along.
Well, there
those
was no
levels of
witty
bad.
banter between.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like he never said anything witty, and neither did she. It was.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like two characters. I don't know, maybe like real life, and if you actually had a camera like following this guy around, you're like, wow, this guy's bored.
I know, but yeah,
And
he
it's
turned her on for some reason.
Wow, she's like lived with a bunch of monks, and
she's
then he doesn't wear a shirt.
Beefcake.
Yeah, he'll do. Whatever.
Better than all these other dudes that are hanging on this boat.
What are my
That
choices?
old guy, the
Yeah.
pirate.
Right. Yeah, and you didn't really understand the relationship between the pirate, because it was like
Haha, we are friends. Okay, I buy it.
It seemed like they were friends, but then it was like, see you later.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we part. Why? Yeah,
Hey,
it's like
you know
this
why
is my
they
life
parted?
quest, and then I'm getting close to my life quest of killing the guy who killed my dad. He's like, and this is where I shall leave you, best friend.
No, he said go get her so you can get in her pants.
Yeah.
He was hooking a brother up.
Oh, but he couldn't be around for that.
No,
What was that?
well, he doesn't want to watch. He's like, hey man,
I didn't say.
it's your time.
I've got the
Get her.
camera.
And that was the last we saw of him.
No, but it's not like It's not like you go to a bar with your buddy and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna go meet her. I'll never see you again. See you.
Well,
give me a hug."
This is a time of high adventure.
Oh, and that's funny because in the beginning we got Conan the
Morgan
Barbarian.
Freeman, right?
Yeah, and this one is Morgan Freeman,
All right.
and the kind of the beginning voiceover just kind of does the Robert E. Howard stuff in Conan the Barbarian. And it's very short, and then here Conan or Morgan Freeman just talks and talks and talks, giving us the backstory of the villain or of this mask.
Of the mask,
yeah,
right.
which. Yeah,
It is very.
I mean, it could have just been a ritual. It could just been, well, we just needed to find her.
I felt like it was Morgan Freeman just sitting in his home where he has his own recording studio where he's just like, okay, what are we doing today? Conan the Barbarian. All right, there was a mask, and this mask had great power.
Yeah. Oh, he probably prints out a bunch of these.
Anyway, we're gonna cut. Okay. All right, next. What are we doing next?
Insurance.
Insurance. All right. Well, here today on insurance, it felt as if his delivery was the same.
I wish I had a voice like that.
I wish we had Mako. Mako was still with us, man.
Yeah, he put himself in that. It was like,
Yeah.
Wind the river. Yeah, and it's just like, he was like Morgan Freeman. When the rivers of the land.
And that's strange too when they have a voiceover. Like often when Morgan Freeman does voiceover at the beginning, he's in the movie. Like he's a character.
Yeah.
And he's just the voiceover guy.
He probably read the rest of the script. He's like, nope. Yeah. Do you want to be?
That's it. That's all we got. That's all. I don't even think it comes back at the end. And they lived happily ever after, until he became a thief. That's a
he
different story
rescues her, and
for a different time.
yeah, and I think they had this monster set piece, and it was so dark you couldn't see anything, so you just give up watching it, just like end it.
Oh, that tentacle thing.
Yeah.
That was the time that I almost laughed a second time because that one guy fell down and ate him, and then he flung up and it was like half of his body. And I'm like, ah. It's like, yeah. I think just having, I don't know. There was a lot of violence in it, where they had that scene where they're pulling out that guy's eye or something like that.
Is that the nose?
Or they cut off his nose, and they had the other guys. They put the key in the guy, and they want to tear him apart.
Right.
Yeah.
But I could have done with a lot more splatter. I think this could have really helped. A lot more splatter, a lot more visceral.
Oh, no, this is R. Yeah.
It is R.
For
the sex scene.
Yeah.
There's some nudity.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, that's
bloody violence and some sexuality and nudity.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's pretty violent, but it's not colorful.
Well, it's 'cause it's so dark you can see it.
Yeah. Even the color of the blood is the same black that's on the cover.
You
know,
see that. Yeah,
yeah, it's
tilted away from
it's
the camera.
It's like oil. Yeah, you can just see him.
Yeah.
That's the violence.
Yeah.
But it could have been more R.
Yeah. I really was thinking this was PG-13. I mean, there definitely was nudity and violence and references to things that could make it R, but just barely. I mean, if you think about what an 80s PG was, this is an 80s PG movie.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I think the scene with the metal, the molten metal falling on his dad. That could have been put it over there.
Yeah, that's true. That could have put it over. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely, and it's strange now because just like with Spider-Man, you've had a couple of shots at getting a Spider-Man series going. Is there going to be a successful Conan after this? Are we going to see are they going to be able to resurrect this franchise?
Well,
the thing about Spider-Man is that the first one was successful.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But that's what they needed to. Right.
And even if the Amazing, it was the first one was successful, the second one was successful, the third one was not. So then they go, okay, reboot, and then they made the Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man. It was all right. And then I didn't see the second one, but I guess it was pretty bad.
Reboot.
Yeah.
So they're like, no, reboot.
Well,
so here, I mean,
this is actually changing companies. It's no longer Sony. Marvel's making another one, so it's that.
Sure.
It's going to be a bit different.
Yeah, but I think maybe if this had been slightly successful, I think it's been 6 years.
They talked about him personally writing a a sequel.
Well, that would be worse.
Wow.
Yeah, but it
Unless
just didn't work.
his wooden acting was under protest to the script. And he's like, well, I'm going to give this nothing.
Yeah.
They decided to
Right.
go against it because I heard rumor that they're going to come back with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan again and do like old man
Like a
King
King
Conan.
Yeah, he's giving,
Which-
it's going to be like really old man.
Which is interesting because this is technically kind of like a reboot because it's the Barbarian.
Right. Right.
But-
Just
But this
replaces
kind
it,
of they're going to go back to the old canon again
Mhm.
and try to continue with that Conan story.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So we were
Yeah,
talking about
sure.
a drinking game you could play to make it somewhat interesting. Because like Alan said, it's not so bad that it's good. It's just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
you
kinda
know when
boring,
people
you
say
know?
that, you go, I don't believe you. I think I could watch this movie and find it funny because it's so bad. And you're like, no, trust us.
Yeah.
I think if you did a drinking game, it would be like, I don't even know what you could do. You have to be things like,
Whenever you see chains,
every time chains, or
someone's chained.
every
or-
time you think, oh, I could have done better.
Yeah. Or they find a key somewhere. There's a key.
Whenever you're disappointed, take a drink.
Right.
Yeah, or something like that. But it would be that joyless drinking. It would be like drinking with an alcoholic next to you. Where you're like drinking and you're going, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yes.
I shouldn't be doing this. I don't know. Because we used to, in this previous job, we'd have work parties and we go, one guy was clearly an alcoholic, like his like skin's like all blotchy and red and like peeling away, and that was one sign. Also the vodka he would down in his lunches. That was another sign. Another sign would be as soon as work ends, he went and bought beers, 2 cans of beer, and slammed them both down as he walked to a bar.
Wow.
Yeah. So it could have been an alcoholic.
You could make
Yeah. But then,
possible.
when you go out, everybody's drinking and he's sitting next to you. It was just like the worst experience. So you're just like,
This.
another beer? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you just stopped me. I'm going to go
Yeah.
home and rethink my life.
Yeah, and it's actually, I remember when this movie ended, and we were drinking a little bit of it, you just kind of like, it was very quiet, and you're just kind of looking around and like, and as you can see, we watched it here and looking at these games, like, why do people play games?
Right. Why do we do it?
They're obviously just dice, and it's not real. Like, it just sucked all joy out of everything. It was like,
did, yeah.
and I think there's some comic books kicking around. The comic books, the stories are the same. Why do people, just
sucking the joy out of life, man.
it was an existential experience.
I think I would watch Cull again before I watch this. Cull the
Yeah.
Conqueror.
Kevin
Sorbo, yeah,
he's got
Tia
some charisma,
Carrera.
Yeah, yep, she's attractive.
And barbarians and heavy metal.
Ah.
Cull the Conqueror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this
I'm gonna
pretty
spoil it.
bland
Yeah.
score.
I'm gonna spoil it. He has to. Nothing. I'm not gonna spoil it, man. He's gotta kiss Tia Carrera, but she's in there like demon monster icky form with the gooey lips. And that's it. Let's watch Cull.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real miss, and it's a real shame because
There
Yeah.
was some money there. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
there was.
They probably got it back. Plus,
Oh, sorry. I don't mean like. Oh, yeah. I really hope they made their money back. I meant like they
put
clearly
money
had some budget.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't
And
the
it
Mutant
was-
Chronicles level of.
Yeah, and
green
at least they were like,
screening,
well, we have no budget. Let's try to do something and do the best we can. And you kind of like, all right, I get it. I know I did that, and I can respect this. And here you're like, well, you have a ship. You had a budget for a ship, but why don't you do something interesting on the ship?
You know, actually, as bad as this was, I did read that it was nominated for an award.
Really?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was nominated for the Golden Trailer Award for having the best cardboard standee, or it was nominated. So I thought, the first thing I thought, like, which actor was it? Because they were all kind of cardboardy.
Actually, they probably used it.
Yeah, it's like, was it in the shot somewhere? But no, it was that thing that they have at the movie theaters, where it's like
Yeah.
Conan standing on top of all the skulls.
Yeah.
Didn't win. Sorry.
Oh.
That it had a chance of succeeding somewhere.
Well, Thelma Adams from US Weekly thought it was packed with thrills.
Packed with thrills.
And I hope that ended Thelma Adams' career because she lies.
Anyway, Yes.
Yeah, but pretty brutal.
Oh, wait, was it? We have finished this thing.
This
So,
episode is a big not recommend, basically.
Oh man,
Yeah.
no, we're saying I'd say like go for the RPG if you really like Conan. Don't go for this movie.
Yeah.
Watch the old ones.
Or just go for the short stories if you're like Conan. Go to the original source.
Yeah.
And there's Conan the Barbarian in the movie. Yeah.
Or this
Oh, the other
game
one.
behind you. Hey,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't played it yet.
Yeah, we're gonna try that out.
Yeah, but we'll talk about this game after we played it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
So it will be 3 times what's the opposite of charm? Or will it be a success?
Yeah,
What was it? 3 times the charm, but
Third time's a charm.
yeah, so 3 times the charm, but what would not be a charm? Anyway, we'll figure that out
Curse?
next time. 3rd time's a curse, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Hopefully we saved you some money and some time. And join us again. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.